Open to merchandise, cash lotteries on the table as well. Joining me live is Nationals MP Dr David Gillespie, one of the doctors of the House. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Let's start on the vaccine passport idea, because some of your colleagues vehemently against it. A lot of doctors say it could be good incentive. What do you think?
Look, I don't think the vaccine passports will fly in this country. There's too much opposition and I don't follow the rationality. And I'm all for supporting a rollout of the vaccine because prevention is important. We need to modify the risk to Australians. We are vulnerable to a third or a fourth or a fifth wave. That's the thing with the pandemic. Because there's such antigenic drift and the virus is getting different forms, we need to get as many people as vaccinated as possible.
Well, that's the idea of this, right? An incentive. It would be an incentive to people.
Look, I think people aren't going to get a vaccine because they get a potential lottery ticket. I mean, that sort of incentive won't work.
Well, first of all,
but
if you passport though, but if you know by getting a vaccine you won't be subjected to lockdown and last-minute cancelled holidays, some people would surely get vaccinated.
Well, as a whole, yes, but for individual people, I don't think that'll work. As a whole, if people understand, if we have more protection for the effects of the illness, the vaccines will modify the illness and prevent a severe illness in people who are unlucky enough to get it, whether they're travelling overseas or in this country. The important thing is, for vaccines to work, we need a big enough take-up amongst the population to...
Yeah, of course, but this is about driving people that might be reluctant or, crucially, delaying it, that might think, let's wait.
Yeah.
If you say, well, if you get it now, you might be able to avoid being locked down, that's incentive, right?
It is an incentive on a broad scale, but individual people, some people are committed to waiting or not even having it. And I encourage them all. It's probably a lot better to prevent serious illness rather than relying on treatment and support if you get it.
But you say incentive on a broad scale. It is an incentive for some individuals.
Oh, yeah. Look, Australians want to keep travelling around Australia as much as overseas. So, look, the sooner we can get large volumes of the population vaccinated, the freer we will become.
Has it been frustrating watching the rollout? Because it seems haphazard, people in disability care massively behind the rest of the country. Some states able to now just roll out vaccines for different age groups. Others would say, well, I'd love to have that, but in my state they're not doing it. It hasn't gone that well, has it?
Oh, look, every scheme of this size and proportion will always have hiccups. But the important thing, Tom, is we had over 500,000 people take it up last week. With the announcement of a breakout in Victoria, I suspect a lot of those hesitant people will jump on board now. And, over 3.5 million jabs delivered already. It does ramp up. You can see the graphs. It's all ramping up and people are rolling up their sleeves.
We had been told, by now we might be at close to 200,000 a day. It doesn't seem like supply is an issue anymore. Are we getting told what the issue really is?
Look, the issue of vaccine hesitancy is there, but it's diminishing, as evidenced by the increasing ramp-up of take-up amongst general practices. There were over 4,000 GP practices that signed up to administer it, and as they are getting it into their communities, that's going up.
A lot of them, sorry to jump in there, but I know you're familiar with the GP network, a lot of them have been frustrated. Some getting too many doses, some not enough. I think 200 even dropped out of it because they said there's no point in doing it.
Yeah, look,
what's the chief issue there, do you think?
Look, it's got to work for the practices. Not everyone signed up for it because they would need to have dedicated space and clinics to make it efficient rather than just randomly coming in for an appointment and saying you want a vaccine. They've got to try and be efficient and cluster them. There were distribution issues up front at the start of the rollout of the vaccine. We've
got enough now though, don't we?
We have plenty available now and it is rolling out and it is ramping up. The figures don't lie. People look on the glass half full scenario. I'm looking here. It's working. It is really ramping up. Look, 105,000 people in one day is a massive improvement and that's day after day. That's the sort of figures and it will ramp up quicker. The announcements about the Pfizer will also improve the take-up amongst the younger population.
Just on that, You're in the category where you could get AstraZeneca now. Are you going to do that, or have you done that?
Look, I'm booked in to see my general practitioner. Everyone has to have their...
You're happy to get AZ?
Look, if my doctor says that, I try not to be a doctor to myself. I take my GP's advice. I mean, I'm one of these people that's had balloons and all sorts of surgery done on them, so I'll take the advice of my doctor.
Right, so but if they say AZ's fine for you, you'll say...
If that's what they recommend, that's what I'll be doing.
OK. And Rex Patrick just finally has said the government's keeping people in the dark on the vaccine, and Paul Kelly has been unhelpful. What's your response to that?
I don't agree with that. No. The Chief Medical Officer and Paul Kelly, all the people are very clear in their advice. The Atagi group have come out as well. I spent 33 years taking the advice of these bodies about vaccination. I've had more vaccines than most people would realise because of various health issues I've had. And it's one of the big public health advancements in the last couple of 100 years, having broad-scale vaccination. And with COVID, it's doubly important. And
so lucky to have one, aren't we, so soon in. David Gillespie, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, Queen